Good day everyone, Vox here. Welcome to the dungeon. We're making a Blemmyes Knight. Sorry. We're going to be using a Valiant Knight as a base, which is going to be a common thing for many projects of mine. We've got a good soul stealing axe and some kind of a ritual cleaver. Looks good. We'll mix up a little green stuff and milliput and mash the two together and get to sculpting. Now, faces are hard. Took a little while to really get anywhere, and I feel a bit of a struggle on this one, especially the lips. But you know what you can do about that? Facial hair. I'm not joking. It's kind of like claws instead of hands, but for faces. We're taking this route this time, as I already mixed up too much putty, so why not add a bulky beard and a mustache too? I'm still not entirely sure what I've sculpted here on top of the head. Is it a hat? Hair? Brains? Beans? Chainmail? We'll see what the paint decides. Paint and whimsy, I suppose. As far as the base goes, we've upgraded from sawdust to bad toilet paper. Break out the single ply and rip it up, adding water and beaten with a stick, then mix with the plaster in as normal. Much easier and nicer to work with. Feels less carcinogenic than the MDF sawdust I was likely using before. Much better. Leave the sawdust for flock, I think. Once that's on, I put on some bark peaches, which I'm running low on now. Woe be to my trees. And then cover the gaps with the pinched vanilla tobacco, which grinds down into some interesting textured ground cover. Place it over PVA, and then squirt some watered down isopropanol over top to help set everything. After the buzzing guard, the paint palette got quite a bit of flock in it, which made it not very nice to use. So we condemn another palette to the graveyard and install a new one. Let's abstain from asphaltum for a moment. I break out the transparent earth red and Prussian blue to start this new palette. Transparent earth red is another PR 101 red. Burnt sienna by any other name. Maybe it's slightly more transparent. It mixes nearly exactly the same as burnt sienna does in my experience, which is good, because burnt sienna is wonderful. It's just interesting to me how many different names it's sold under. They do have slight differences, but they really all are just variations on a theme. Which, hell yeah, jam on. Speaking of, jam that brush in there, it's the staining phase. I found if you mix any transparent paint with a strongly staining paint, such as this Prussian blue, it will alter the hue of the stain in interesting ways. Burnt sienna likes will uniformly enrich and warm a stain, whether that's starting from purple or blue, as is the case here. I focused more of the red on fleshy areas in the ground, whereas I used the mix of the two on the armor and first pass of the bark of the base. Then I applied the Prussian blue directly onto the weapons and similar. That way, when I sponge the paint off, as I am, they'll come out nicely pre-shaded and tinted the appropriate color. Understanding how staining works makes for incredibly fast painting. As the setup you give yourself for painting the rest of the model means that it really only needs a few simple highlights and details dotted in to look ready for the tabletop. But it also works similar to a zenithal highlight for setting up a more detailed paint job, should you choose to, since you'll generally be acting as how the light drapes over the figure with the sponge, moving down and away. It'll naturally show you where to put the highlights. Really a great example of how oils will work for you if you let them. It is so fast to do this for 10 to 20 models at a time, but we're just painting the one this time. A nice, relaxing project. Early dusting. I want to get a little more texture into some areas. Of course the base, but we'll also apply quite a bit into some areas of wet oils. It'll mix slightly and set with them, providing a slight bit of texture and a very matte effect. The places where the wet oil builds up from the spirits are basically the guides on where to put the darker pigments. They'll clump up ever so lightly with the pooled oils and, oh, it just works wonderfully, I think. I really think this guy only needs a couple highlights more. Black rim the base and put a couple splotches of gloss Mod Podge onto the base for variance. He should be good. Now, I said before that Blemmyes have no souls, and as such their eyes are black, but this one's are not, so clearly they stole one. Judging from the looks of this one's axe alone, they seem to be putting the entrapped souls of several beings into use. A terrifying sight to behold in the age of heroes. a self-made creature who ascends the mortal coil by simple violence, its unordered and unwanted existence fallen to greed and consumption. Entrapping themselves within the cycle now, in pursuit of power, who knows what they may make of themselves in this anti-theistic time, with no gods to stop mortals. They will make themselves as such. At least there is simplicity in the warrior's apotheosis, as opposed to that of a wizard's madness in pursuit of the same end. Thank you all. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, subscribe, let me know what I can try and do better. Editing is the newest thing for me still, so hopefully that'll just keep improving. I'm certainly getting more confident in the software. I don't want to get too advanced with it, but simple text and beat edit seem like a nice place to keep focusing. Remember, don't lock eyes with a soulless creature unless you can put it down. They yearn for yours.